Hello everyone, my name is Oluwakemi Gay. I'll be showcasing the outcomes of my independent research in this presentation as it relates to my specific area of interest, and that is the impact of the nature of the leadership style and how it influences the perception of professional satisfaction for employees. This is also why some of my initiative, especially related to the process of data collection, data analysis, and outcome synthesizing, is very much inclined towards thematic analysis with a systematic review of the most relevant sources. The details of the selection of the methodology specifications can be seen in the following slides. In this slide, we can look towards the aim and objectives associated with the overall study and the primary topic of transformational leadership and its impact on the overall scale of employee satisfaction and professional satisfaction on specific industry of the UK retail and sales industry. According to Topolowski 2014, multiple studies have linked the extent of employee satisfaction characteristics with a financially successful and thriving business. This also emphasizes on the collectiveness of the objectives to highlight the different layers of professional satisfaction as relevant in the UK retail industry. The objectives converge on providing suitable recommendation which will relate directly towards the UK retail industry and the leadership practices within the said industry. In the current slide, the specifications of the selected methodology can be seen. The current study is affiliated with secondary data collection method. The researcher has consulted various academic sources in order to deliver upon an accurate and authentic thematic data collection process. The specification of the data collection process mentioned here can be traced across many different academic literature and information sources as identified within the study itself. The researcher has not done any segregation between the qualitative, quantitative, or primary, secondary data sources. The researchers also followed established academic sources like Saunders et al. 2003 and Kotari 2004 in order to deliver upon the data collection process with complete academic alignment. The inclusion and exclusion criteria for the completion of the sampling process can be seen in this table. The sampling processes applied in the context of the current study can be seen in this slide. The researcher has used multiple sources for the data collection process. Initially, 37 potential sources were identified by the application of the inclusion and exclusion table with the use of specific search tags and phrases as illustrated on the slide. The data synthesizing process has been concluded with the use of frequency distribution analysis in order to highlight the more prominent and recurring outcomes for the studies. The specific outcomes from the studies can be highlighted in the following slide. In this particular slide, different secondary sources has been highlighted, especially in terms of their findings. And lastly, the themes and the subject factors which are associated with the transformational leadership style. Only 4 of all the secondary sample papers have been highlighted in this particular slide. It is important to remember that the majority of the sources used in the sampling process are related to the UK retail industry in one way or the other. Catry et al. 2012, for example, has stipulated foundation of transformational leadership functionalities is directly related to the charisma and vision of the leader. Similarly, Armstrong and Taylor 2020 have identified 1. Responsibility, 2. Commitment, and 3. Employee focus as the most effective element for effective transformational leadership implementation. Moreover, much like Catry et al. 2012, Hasga and Hoino 2018 has also highlighted the vision and clarity of thoughts and actions, coupled with inspirational personality and individual considerations for effective transformational leadership capabilities. Lastly, Boer et al. 2016 have concluded that the extent of leader and member communication is at the center of successful application of transformational leadership. It can be reiterated that all of these studies have links with the UK retail industry, and the outcomes are specifically applicable for the UK retail industry specifically. In this particular slide, we can see second set of data from 4 sources, much like in the previous slide. In this slide as well, the focus is strictly towards the understanding of the themes and subset factors associated with effective transformational leadership style in the UK. Mustafa 2019, for example, has stipulated that individual influence, individual considerations, and lastly, the implications of intellectual stipulations are some of the most important elements related constituting the organizational social culture. By this point, we can see that there are multiple recurring themes and attributes associated with the transformational leadership practices in the UK retail industry. These attributes have been grouped in slide 10. Edwards and Gill 2012 and Kesey et al. 2013 have concluded that leader effectiveness and innovation championing are 2 subset factors for transformational leadership within the scope of their own studies. Daynat et al. 2015, interestingly, has concluded that the advent of transformational leadership is directly related to the foundation of the Big 5 personality traits with the help of the meta-analysis. In this particular slide, I have categorized the individual transformational leadership subset factors and teams into common groups. In order to do so, I have taken help from academic sources like Nothouse 2016. The author famously stated that transformational leadership is a process that changes and transforms people. Nothouse 2016, page 161. He also added that the introduction of transformational leadership has a direct influence on the level of morality within the organization. I have been able to identify 10 transformational leadership traits groups, namely charisma, vision, responsibility, commitment, employee focus, inspirational personality, leader-member exchange, intellectual stimulation, innovation champion, Big 5 personality, conscientiousness and openness. The frequency of this trait among the final 8 samples can be seen in the following slide. In this slide, we can see the visual representation of the standard frequency and percentile analysis of the major transformational subset factors among the 10 primary factors identified among the 8 secondary sources. Both the individual charisma of the leader and the employee's focus is the most prominent themes. Both of these attributes constitutes of 19% of the overall attributes. Next, the visionary qualities of the transformational leader and their inspirational personality is at 13%. For the rest of the transformational leadership attributes, the percentile value is around 6%, which includes responsibility, commitment, leader-member exchange, intellectual stimulation, and the process of the Big 5 personality traits, most importantly, conscientiousness and openness. In this slide, we can link the outcomes of the study to the initial objectives at the beginning of presentation. The slide highlights that all the individual objectives can be acknowledged with the data collected from the 8 secondary sources. The frequency and percentile analysis of team dispersion, it can be concluded that employee focus and individual charisma of the leader are 2 most essential elements related to transformational leadership, especially within the context of the UK retail industry. It can also be asserted 6 sources among 8 analyzed within the context of the study has been able to successfully showcase positive impact upon employee satisfaction's outcome. Moreover, depending upon the outcomes, the recommendation has been suggested in Objective 4. In this particular slide, I have implemented the reflective circle of Gibbs 1988. In the table presented in the slide, I have mentioned the different stages of my experience during the completion of the research process. I have come to the conclusion that with given time and the wider industry specification, I can include more secondary sources which will eventually result in extensive data collection and rigorous assessment of the outcomes. However, overall, I am satisfied with the outcomes of the current study within the context of the resources used to complete it. However, in future, I will continue to conduct my own individual study on transformational leadership attributes and its different dimension as a force towards employee satisfaction and organization commitment. With this slide, I conclude the presentation on the topic of transformational leadership style and its impact upon employee professional satisfaction outcomes by looking at the individual traits and attributes of transformational leadership as stipulated by major academic sources like Nordhaus 2016. Again, I would like to extend my gratitude and appreciation for the viewers. Thank you all.